And we are live. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the player rating show. A very interesting game down in Cape Town. And before we get into the game, break it down and kind of talk about exactly what this game could mean and where this game, really sets up for that whole tour. And we can almost kind of have a bit of a look at the greatest rivalry concept and whether it was really on show tonight. We've got to look at some man of the match candidates across both teams. And I'm going to give it to you guys in the comments. So while I break it all down and we discuss the entire game, I need some man of the match candidates. And they can be from either side because we are going to rate both sides. So before we get on to the player rating show on my picks. So right now, as everybody starts sort of filtering in and the likes of that, go and go onto the website. Go and get rating the players. We're all going to basically give a rating between 1 and 10 and going to then choose our man of the matches and the likes of that. So that is what is to come. And as I said, we like to award a Forever Sports man of the match. So get your candidates in and get them into the chat. And once I kind of break down the entire game, we'll go into it and we'll award our official man of the match and the likes of that. Okay, does that all make sense? Fantastic. Stormers 21, New Zealand 38. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not necessarily a scoreline that fully sums up the game because I'll tell you what, hats off to the Stormers. They were tremendous. They really were. To put in that kind of performance against an All Black side, brimming with talent, with plenty of experience, especially considering the inexperience of some of those Stormers players. Ayaki Ahmed on debut. Some of the adversity the Stormers had to go through, losing Imad Khan 5 minutes in. Diawal Duvanacher, the veteran, playing his last Stormers game. He then went off in the 69th minute, and Siabela Sanatla had to actually finish on playing scrum off. So they threw almost everything they could possibly throw at the Stormers, did the All Blacks and the rugby gods, in terms of having to navigate some of the really, really sort of difficult parts of that. But this game was in the balance. It really was in the balance. We saw the All Blacks score early, and that's always ominous when you have these tours and the touring side who are an international side or a combined side, invitational side with fantastic players. That can sometimes be a bit ominous when you get an early try, because you think, oh, hang on, the smaller side, your Stormers, your franchises, are they going to now worry, for example? Are they going to be a little bit devoid of confidence and start thinking, oh, hang on, this is a lot harder? The Stormers didn't do that. In fact, they replied with a try of their own, and Deon Fourie got onto the scoreboard. What a fantastic game he had. I mean, shout out to Deon Fourie, still going at his age, still turning up, getting fit, getting through injuries, and putting in that kind of performance. Absolutely sensational from him. 7-7. And then just before halftime, the All Blacks got their second try. So 14-7 at halftime. Stats were pretty even. The Stormers were dominating the scrum. Vernon Matonga was doing a job on Basilo Tossi. We had some very good moments, and the Stormers were in the game, And even at halftime, I said, well, whatever the final score is, the fact of the matter is that they went toe-to-toe for 40 minutes, but it was longer than that. We're talking about a game that only really sort of started to stretch out in the final 20, if we're going to be brutally honest. It really was. If you look at the momentum, it was very, very even. Up until the try that Rico Awani scored in the 66th minute, and after that we went Awani 66, Carter 71, and Morby 75. Those three late tries, and even one of them, especially talk about the injuries. The second last try for the All Blacks was when Chiva Diamani was back on the wing, had to go all the way back, picked up the ball, had no other option but to kick, got charged down, and they scored. So very unlucky. But 65 minutes, with 15 minutes to go, the score was 14-14. And as a South African, I'm looking at that game, and I'm looking at players like Yakin Ahmed. He looked so comfortable. To think that was his debut for the Stormers was incredible. The Stormers, 10 entries to New Zealand's 9. As usual, New Zealand, very, very good average points scored per entry. But none of the stats, for example, point towards a game where the All Blacks completely dominated them. In fact, there were lots of stats where the All Blacks will be a bit worried about. I think, scrum-wise, didn't get the dominance. In fact, Stormers won quite a few scrum penalties. The All Blacks definitely kept ball in hand a little bit more, and we saw some quick taps, for example. We saw a couple of different things. So as people talk about an exhibition match, and I wouldn't go as far as to say it was. There definitely, I think, were things that the All Blacks might do differently were it a test match. But you can't give each of those excuses. At the end of the day, I think we saw a bit of a disjointed All Black side. I also think we saw a bit of disjointedness in the Stormers side. But we saw a Stormers side that stood up and wanted to be counted. And if we look at some of the stats, territory-wise, Stormers actually had more, 57% territory, and more possession throughout the rest of the game. The scrum percentage doesn't tell the full story because I think the Stormers scrum was very good initially, and then as the bench started to empty, I think that's when All Blacks did find a bit of a second gear, really. But in general, the Stormers measured up. Post-contact meters 245, but the All Blacks 410. The All Blacks running threat continues to be a big part of it. They've really much gone back to their DNA in that regard. They look to keep ball in hand as much as possible. They don't look to necessarily go to the box kick off. And I think a lot of people are asking why the Stormers, and I think you kind of have to. If you're going to try and outrun the All Blacks, I think you're going to be in trouble. But there was definitely a bit of a warning sign, even to the box to a certain degree, that this All Black side has a lot of running. You've got lots of pace across that side, and players you can find gaps and opportunities. Rico Awani, very busy. Anthony Brown, after he only had a card, was tremendous in terms of getting that go-forward ball. Ball retention for the All Blacks was pretty poor. 15 turnovers lost. And that'll be a big work on for them because that's not really good enough. As well as 16 penalties conceded and 3 yellow cards. So the ill discipline from the All Blacks is also going to be something that was quite worrying. Tackle completion rate, 86% for the All Blacks, 84% for the Stormers, two teams that were happy, especially at certain stages, to throw the ball around. And but not that many kicks. In an average test match, you'll see 20 to 30 kicks per team. We saw 31 kicks in total. The Stormers kicking the ball 16 times, the All Blacks kicking it 15 times. The kick-to-pass ratio for the All Blacks was 1 to 11.4. So that's a kick to every 11 passes. The Stormers was 1 to 7.4. So not that much, I think, but obviously did kick a bit more and stuff. In terms of some individual ball carriers, Anthony Brown topped the charts with 14. Peter Lakai, 2 line breaks. Big defensive shifts from Connor Evans. Peter Lakai, 17 from Peter Lakai, 16 from Connor Evans. Dion Free, 2 turnovers, 1 absolute aging like a fine wine. So job done as far as Dave Rennie is concerned. He really would have gone into this and said, at the end of the day, you've got to make sure we win. The performance is always kind of secondary to a certain degree. But it's a great game. It was a great game for the fans to watch. I think that's the main thing. It was a good product to really enjoy that. Was it always champagne rugby? No, but you're not necessarily always going to get that. So it's interesting that, for example, during the stream, people were sitting there saying, oh, there was just kicks. Well, actually, there was fewer kicks than what you see in a test match. We will see test matches where a single team will kick the ball 30 plus times. So 16 and 15 kicks is actually not a lot, especially in the second half. We saw it move away there as well. So yeah, it's learning curves, and this All Black side will only get better. But I think Rusty will have watched that game and been very, very chuffed, because the big thing for our local teams, you've got to try and soften the All Blacks up for the Springboks. You've got to make sure that by the time you get to the test series, these All Blacks players are a bit sore, a bit tired, and a bit fatigued, and now they've got to try and get themselves up. That's what makes these tours so difficult. It's not necessarily just the opposition, it's the fact you've got to go and play 8 matches on tour. You've got to rotate the squad out. You've got to keep players fresh. You've got to cope with injuries, there will be injuries. There'll be no doubt be injuries throughout the tour. And you've got to just keep having to get up and go. You've got to get up and go again on Tuesday. You've got to get up and go on Saturday. You've got to get up and go the following week on the Saturday, and then you go again on the Tuesday. So it's a very jam-packed schedule that the All Blacks have to try and cope with, but that's what makes these tours so much fun. In terms of the player ratings, I said it is going to be a quick player ratings because we got to get through both teams. So I need you guys to give me some nominations. I'll go through it and see what you guys are looking like in terms of exactly that. Our man of the match nominations, and Anthony Brown, I believe, won the official man of the match for the obviously the match itself and the likes of thing. But I said I'm interested to see where we are in terms of what we're thinking from our man of the match point of view and where that vote. So basically, yeah, I need at least basically 4 candidates to go to the man of the match, and hopefully you guys are all on my picks, and it looks something a bit like this on the screen. But what are the nominations over here? So Where are we at with some man of the match nominations, people? Come on, show you guys to give me some of you. I'm not seeing any man nominations, people. Man of the match nominations, people. I need man of the match nominations. Anybody got man of the match nominations? I'm seeing a lot of people talking about some of the players, but some of the bad players. I need the good players here. I need people to put into a poll here. You're not going to give me man of the match options. I can't put out a poll to get the man of the match. You know, I need you guys to work with me here. You know, this is a collaborative effort. I can't pull all the weight, people. You know, I'm not a world's strongest man. So I'm going to put in Dion Ferree. I thought he was tremendous. So my man of the match, and it could be even from the All Blacks as well. So I'm going to put in Dion Ferree. I'm also going to put in Anton Brown. I thought that when he came, and I'm a big Anton Brown fan in general, so I quite enjoyed being able to do that. But I thought that he was very, very good. So we've got Dion Ferree, got Anton Brown. It says Donny reckons that Bowden and Proctor must book a return ticket back home to club rugby. Malibongwe has gone with Ferree and Diamani. I'm seeing Andre Hugo Fenter. I'm seeing more Dion Ferree. I'm seeing another Andre Peter Lakai from Charles. Says Ferree or the young 10 for Stormers. Good debut for the 20-year-old. And I need people to like sort of. I need like a seconder almost to a certain degree. I need you guys to kind of give me a second opinion as to where that's kind of going to go and what the thinking is there. So let me know what you guys are where you're at with that, and if you're backing any of those kind of shouts, and we can kind of get going on rating these players. But ideally, I want to get in fact, why don't I just start the ratings, and then we'll basically just go into the man of the match poll as we get it. So at the moment, we've got Dion Ferree and Anton Brown. Okay. Well, let's get into our player rating, shall we? Because we're going to start with a man who I thought had a very, very good outing. Werner Vertonghen, 6 out of 7 tackles. 3K. What are the point? I think he won 4 scrum penalties against Basile Tosti. So you're tied to. Your Lucid and you're tied to. Your job is to scrum and scrum well. So I think Werner Vertonghen, was one of the more impressive players. I think he really, really upped his stocks, inverted commas, this evening. Andre Hugo Fenter, I also thought, had a very, very good game. And he was released from the box squad. And we spoke about the fact that Rassie would have wanted these players to kind of soften the All Blacks up a little bit. And I think that he was quite abrasive. Definitely one of the better games I saw from Andre Hugo Fenter. So I'm going to give him a 7. I'm going a bit lower, but I was just stupidly impressed with Werner Vertonghen, in fairness. To do that to an international prop and to that was very, very good. I'm seeing another nomination for Peter Lakai into our man of the match, and I'm seeing another one for Yakin Ahmed. So, I mean, look, if I have to do it, I have to do it, don't I? Right, there we go. There's our nominations. Dave Rennie having say hello to the Stormers coaching staff, and they'll be very, very chuffed. Oh, my man's got the Adidas scuns on. Imagine, my man's walking around in the sneakers. Definitely for sure. Bit of a quiet game scrummaging wise. I think he just anchored the scrum, which is kind of his thing, but a huge defensive shift from Neertling. So I'm going to give him a 7. Very, very good outing. RJ Smith, I was a little bit disappointed because I thought this was a game he could really like take with his hands and really get involved and assert his authority. I thought that he would be one of the players that he can kind of say, cool, here I am. This is what I can do. So I think he was all right, but nothing too special. So I'm going to give him a 6. I thought Connor Evans worked hard. I'm going to give him a 7. You know, really, really good defensive shift from him. Got through a lot of work to Connor Evans. And I thought that he had a good game. Very, very good game. Dion Ferree, I mean, what a game this is. 21 meters, 3 passes, try assist, try to his name. 13 out of 14 tackles. Oh, I mean, you got to give him an 8, don't you? You got to give him an 8. In fact, I'm going to give him a 9 because the man's 40 years old. Yeah, I think it's to do that was tremendous, absolutely tremendous, and to be playing at that level at that age is Tiba Diamani. My heart bleeds for the poor man who had to go. He had to go out into the wing and basically concede a try out there. But in general, I thought he was balling out there. Some very nice touches. I thought he was very good defensively. Probably one of the better defensive efforts I've actually seen from Archiva, which is cool to see because he's not he's always been good with ball in hand. He's always been a good attacking player, but sometimes, the battle stats and getting involved in that kind of point of view is where maybe he's not always performed at the highest level. But I thought he was very, very good today. I was going to give him an 8, except for that kick and charge down try. So I'll knock it down to a 7, but I can't hate too much because shame. Out of position, having to go through. Now, again, we speak about players who stood up today and players who maybe missed the opportunity. I don't think Evan Roos had a very good game tonight. Missed some tackles, 2 or 3 at least knock-ons. I thought he was very below average. So I want to give him a 5. And it hurts me to say because I think he's a great player, but I just don't think he was really there. I mean, Aki Ahmed, we just give a classic standard 6. He played for 4 minutes. So yeah, I always give a 6. So I just feel too bad to give him a 5. I mean, let's just talk about the fact that this kid's 20 years old. Did miss a tackle, which kind of results in the try, although I do think that the try was pretty much scored. Was great off the tee. Was pretty pinpoint. Had some really nice moments, and I think I'd probably say it was about a 7, maybe around 8 performance. But the fact that he's 20 means it's definitely an 8 for me, because to do that at his age is pretty incredible. Again, I mean, he's 20 years younger than Deon Free. 20 years. Let me just let that sink in. In 2006, when Deon Free was playing over here, my man was getting born. And now he's playing with Deon Free. I mean, it's mental. Absolutely mental. Leon Zass, I thought was all right. Nothing too flashy. Somebody who at one stage was pushing hard for a box spot, but I think is kind of not really been able to kick on from that kind of form. This man was solid. Was solid. I think nothing. He does remind me a lot of David Delaney. Not even just so much in terms of being a big physical center, but not flash. He's not necessarily got the chicken wing pass and this stuff, but he's a confrontational, hard work. He's a grafter of a player. Is Jonathan Roche, and I think he's got lots of talent. I watched him with UCT, and I watched him, and he was his outside center. He was inside, and Josh Bull at outside, and they were such a good combination, those two. And I watched them live in the Basket Cup final, and I said, "Oh, those two are going to go far. Those two have got something about them." So I'm going to give him a solid 7. I think he was solid today. Ruan now a bit quiet, I think, a bit average. We'll go with a 6 over there. We've got Ruan now twice, but Sianis Natla, he scored a try. We did to scrum off. He competed well in the air. And you know what? Also, can we just talk about the fact that this man almost had to retire? Was in a car accident where he almost lost his life. Didn't know if he was going to walk again. Didn't even know if he was going to run again. Now he's scoring a try against the All Blacks, and that kind of story requires an 8. It just does. I don't know what the rules. Warwick Holland. Oh, I mean, I just love watching Warwick Holland play rugby, because you just do not know what you're gonna get. The whole concept of Bertie, what's it, Bernie's bots, every flavor bean. That is Warwick Holland, the rugby player, because when that ball gets to him, you can expect anything from the sublime to the ridiculous, and he showed everything tonight. He had some phenomenal dummies. He had some phenomenal touches. He also had some really bad drops and some bad moments. But that's who he is as a player, and you've got to understand that about him. To dare is to do is the slogan of Tottenham Hotspur, and I think that he is that player. By virtue of throwing that 50-50 pass, of trying those things, you open yourself up to those mistakes. But in general, I thought he was good. In general, I thought that he did more good than bad. JJ Kotze off the bench, pretty quiet, nothing too flashy. Nstuka Kunu, I'd like to have seen him more with ball in hand, to be honest. I'd like to have seen him carry a bit more, but scrum-wise is a bit worrying because they did start to settle in over here. Herman Lover also, not too, I mean, he got 6 minutes, so we just give him a 6 over there. Ruan Ackerman, I don't think it was particularly good, to be honest. He missed a tackle, which moved in a couple of knock-ons, so didn't come on and really press kick him Maraba. We didn't see too much. As much the same as Mlaba. He only got about 11 odd minutes. I thought Dubanacher, I'm going to give Dubanacher a 7. I thought he was really good when he came on. I thought that he was diving past, but also a veteran. This was his last game. He's left the rugby field for the last time in a professional sense, going straight into the Stormers coaching setup. But what a game sign off, And at the end of the day, when he went off, they were kind of just in the game. But he was not planning on having to play 65 minutes. I can tell you that much. So sad that he went off injured, but not a bad game. And similarly, a couple of nice touches, but didn't really manage to get into the game as much as you like. I'd probably say an average 6. And then John Dobson. Well, you know what, Dobson? I'm going to give you an 8. I'm going to give you an 8 because you backed some youngsters and you had a game plan, and up until 65 minutes, you were level with an All Black side. And I think that deserves an 8. Good old Dobber. I mean, he was I once said people talking about him getting the sack. I don't think the Stormers players and Stormers leadership groups and the likes of that were ever talking about him getting the sack. But those were some of the chats. So, yeah, I think that he can be very proud of what he's done. And let's get into the All Blacks, shall we? George Bauer. Well, not bad in the loose. Scrum-wise, didn't get the authority that he probably wanted. I'm going to rip apart Basile Torsi. Not that that sounds mean, but I just think. But I think was all right. Was solid enough. I think was George Bauer. Didn't do much wrong. In fact, I'm being harsh here. Let me give him a 7. Takawa was very, very good. Scored a try, nice and physical in the match. I'm gonna give him probably an 8. I thought he was very good. Basile Tossi, well, the man got manhandled by Vernon Matonga. He won one scrum penalty against him, but I believe conceded 4. And yeah, jeepers, what a moment for that to be Vernon Matonga. But yeah, not a good time to be Basile Tossi to have been bullied like that by Vernon Matonga. You know, that's he won't enjoy that. Put it that way. He won't be a massive fan of that situation. So I'm gonna give him a 4. To be honest. Yeah, that sounds harsh, but yeah. So I've gone harsh, but again, I just thought, hey, dude. Fabian Holland, a bit absent, to be honest. I don't really remember. But I suppose, that's the grunt work. I mean, 10 out of 10 tackles, just because I've seen him do a lot with ball in hand, but didn't carry much. Did get a try assist. So I'll probably give him in fact, I'm being harsh there. They probably had a solid 7. Not massively flash. Patrick Tripolotto also was a bit quiet for him, but decent at line out time. Got around the park, did his work. He's a quiet character, but in terms of vocal, not quite Artie Xavier. He's necessarily kind of heart in the chest, but I thought decent enough, and so I'm going to give him a 7 over there. We've then got Parker got the yellow card, but also got a try to his name, so I'll give him a 7. I always think that the try kind of takes something a bit away, or it gives you something much like a yellow card takes something. I think he's a 6 performance, but a try. Well, I suppose actually I'm being stupid because he got the yellow card, so that probably cancels it out. I give him a 6 from a performance. Then you go to his yellow card. So I'm gonna go 6 performance, go up to 7, but back down to a 6 for the yellow card, up to the 7 for the try. He was full of carrying, was Anton Segner, so I'll give him an 8. I thought he was impressive with his carrying. Nice young player, born in Germany of all places, so impressive. I think he's got a good career ahead of him. Much like this man over here, late player into the side, Peter Lakai. Wasn't supposed to start, but the injury to Wallace TT. Before I go, let me just rate him. I'm going to give him an 8. I thought he was really, really good today. Let me go to some of the comments. And Faz J said, I got strangely emotional when Fui went off. He put his whole body on the line. What a shift. Absolute legend of the game. 100%. Jay Serrano, who I believe is a Kiwi, says, Proctor knocking on that easy run and try. He might not make the All Blacks Rugby World Cup team next year. He says, I agree. Tossi played. Yeah, didn't play his cup, basically. Yeah, I didn't think he was just good at all. Bobby Lowe says, All Blacks had no intention of showing Rassie any structure, treated it like a friendly. Same will happen on Tuesday. Well, I know it's, and I think it's a bit of a, you don't want to show your cards, but at the same time, you also can't take away from the fact that these are alignment games. These are opportunities to get your game plan into work. So you've kind of got, it's the same as the Box tomorrow night against Argentina. You've got to try and win the game. You've got to try and use it as an opportunity to start gelling. But you also don't want to you're not going to start throwing out your trick plays here, for example. But you do have to look at some of the at some of your structures and be able to some of your game plans. You can't just play exhibition rugby inverted commas for all 4 franchise games because you're losing the opportunity to try and build onto your game plan, try and prepare. You can't just, because unfortunately it's just not that easy to rock up on the day and flick the switch and all of a sudden be able to go into your your tactics and the way you play and the likes of that. Cortes Ratimer, Decent game. He's a silent player. I enjoy watching him play. He's a fun player to watch. Always looking for like the quick tap, for example. Had some nice moments. I'll probably give him a 7. I don't know if that feels harsh. I think the main thing for me is the fact that it's an All Black side that weren't quite ahead up until sort of 66 minutes. But Beauden Barrett, well, I thought he started off. I thought we were going to see a balling out Beauden Barrett. That chip ahead and a couple of nice touches. But after that, it was a little bit absent. So I don't think he was great. I'm going to give him a 6. Rico Awani, he was very busy, wasn't he? Scored a try, lots of carry, lots of meters, lots of clean breaks. I thought he put his hand up and said, "I'm here, I'm back," which was good for him, because I think that he's a player that's the kind of was falling out of favor. This man over here, I'm going to give him a 9. I thought he was absolutely tremendous. 13 carries. After that yellow card, he came back and was just mental, just banging over, finding lots of space. And really, really, really impressive performance from him. So I think he made a big statement. Billy Proctor, on the other hand, I'm going to give him 5. I thought he was really, really poor. Knocked on a lot. Some simple ones as well. He just, I don't know, just looked like he was nowhere today. He's a talented player, but today he wasn't on it. Leroy Carter worked quite hard. I'll give him a 7 just because he's hit a couple of tackles. But and Josh Morby, I thought was decent. Also got a try as well to his name, so I'll give him a solid 7 there. Asafa Amua, he's a talented player. Ran over Kalant in the right and at the end to get his try, but he's a big boy, isn't he? Amua, very, very big boy. So I'm going to give him a 7. Solid work off the effort. Ollie Nice stabilized the scrum, so decent between him as well as Loawaki, who also was solid enough at scrum time. Simon Derry, not much to do, but had a very good try-saving thing. So I'll give him a 7 just for that, because that was very, very close to being a try. Ethan Blackadder, I was a little bit. We wanted to see a bit more of the big Ethan Blackadder in the big space. We talked about him being one of the more physical threats to the box. Maybe didn't quite see it as much today, but we'll probably see more of that as we went on. Preston was on for all of 6 minutes, so gets a 6, much like Josh Akum, who's on for 11 minutes. Was all right, got through a bit of stuff, but not much to do. Caleb Clark, also pretty average. In terms of Dave Rennie, well, I suppose, job done, not massively impressive. I'll probably give a 6 to him, to be honest. And it sounds harsh, but at the end of the day, you got to judge on this game itself. 21-38, I suppose maybe it's a bit harsh. Maybe a 7 is probably a bit better. Should I do a 7? I'll give him a 7. I don't know what the fans are going with. I'm going to give him a 7. You guys want 6.7. So apparently I've actually gone a bit hard. I think 6.5 is probably about right. At the end of the day, you got the result. The team selection, inverted commas, well, this is what this tour is about, isn't it? It's about finding where you are with these players. It's about finding where these players are fitting in. And where are you with that whole situation? So the main thing for me is over here is to go back to Dion Fourie, because I believe, if I have to check our poll, is Dion Fourie has won with 62% of the vote. So we are going to select him as our man of the match. So you're going to see his little trophy over there. And the nice thing is, if you guys have been doing this yourselves, is this is what you can now do, basically. So now that we've done the ratings, inverted commas, we can go and we can share them, and we can go and we can download our picture. So there's a bit of an interesting situation with Ronald was being there twice, but he is only there once on the graphic. And basically, you can download a cool little picture, which looks a little something like this, that you can then share with your mates and put on your WhatsApp group and the likes of that. And that's our Stormers ratings. You can also obviously do the All Black ratings, the likes of that. So I hope you guys really enjoy that. Jess says, Amur, our best impact player off the bench for Test. Yeah, I agree with that. I haven't watched a lot of him, admittedly, in terms of his Super Rugby and the likes of that. But I think he looks like a proper player. Klaus says, did the All Blacks really play poor, or they actually held back? I feel like they held back last, especially in the first half. Well, the problem is we don't know. So we can only, I think we can only judge on what we saw. So I think I don't want to give the cop out to a certain degree of, oh, but they were holding back. Maybe they were to a certain degree. But imagine you held back, inverted commas, you got average results against the franchise, and then you go and lose 3-1 or 4-0 in the Test series. You can't sit there saying, well, actually, in general, it wasn't a great tour. And again, so I'm just gonna judge on what they were now at the end of the day, which was a performance which was all right, but not great. Not great. That's where I'm at. People, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. We will see you guys all tomorrow, by the way. We do this all again. All again. Because this time tomorrow, in fact, this time tomorrow, we actually only be in the first half. The Box versus the Argentina. It's a bit of a late game, but so much Curry Cup to watch tomorrow, which is quite cool. So if you're a big rugby fan, set the alarms going. You have a bit of a line in the morning. Australia at 12, Lions at 1. I want to say Bulls are at 3 or 5, I think. I actually could be completely wrong. I'm actually just spitballing here. But the Lions are definitely at 1 against the Greek, because that much I do know. But big thank you guys for all for joining me throughout the evening. A really cool evening of rugby. Let me know what you guys thought about. We had some new graphics, obviously a bit of a new overlay system, which you guys might have not noticed. Obviously got to work out a few of the kinks, but we are slowly going to start getting there, and just trying to make sure that you guys get the best experience possible. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow. We'll do this all again, and again on Tuesday, and again on Saturday, and the following Saturday. So much to come here on Forever Sports.